Imagine getting into your car and driving straight from Melbourne to Hobart. No ferries, bookings, or waiting at ports, and no sea crossings. While it might sound like science fiction, there's growing discussion about making this dream a reality. Though separated by the Bass Strait for thousands of years, this ambitious idea has persisted in public discourse, captivating engineers and politicians and citizens. Historically, Tasmania wasn't always cut off from the mainland. Around 12,000 years ago, during the last ice age, sea levels were much lower, and a natural land bridge connected the island to the Australian continent. This corridor allowed the first Aboriginal peoples to migrate between the two lands. However, rising seas submerged the land link, creating an island. Since then, Tasmania has remained geographically and economically isolated from the rest of Australia. In recent decades, as tech advanced and infrastructure grew more daring, the idea of reconnecting the island through a bridge or tunnel has repeatedly surfaced. Let's explore the grand and complex vision of creating a physical connection across the Bass Strait, evaluating potential routes and the feasibility of construction. The notion of establishing a permanent link between Tasmania and Australia is not new. Discussion about such a project dates back to the 50s, when some early thinkers began examining whether it might be possible. The underlying belief was that Tasmania's geographical isolation contributed to slower economic growth, and a direct physical link might help boost trade and tourism. Again, in the 1990s, the idea gained traction as Tasmania faced economic headwinds. Some proposals even made it into policy discussions, but the concept never reached the design phase. While the idea still floats in the public imagination, no concrete government plans have been enacted. In recent years, the increasing cost and unpredictability of ferry transport have reignited debate. Ferries remain Tasmania's primary means of transportation of goods and people across the Bass Strait, but they are often subject to delays and weather, and it's expensive. Despite these challenges, there's been little more than talk. Public support is split, with some viewing it as a nation-building opportunity and others calling it a waste. Engineers and planners have discussed three main route options to connect Tasmania and the mainland. Each offer unique benefits and present distinct engineering and environmental hurdles. This is the most straightforward option. The Bass Strait is approximately 240 kilometers wide at its narrowest point between the northeastern Tasmania and southern Victoria. Constructing a bridge or tunnel here would offer the most direct path, eliminating the need for intermediate infrastructure like island stops. However, this region's known for deep waters, volatile weathers, and strong currents. Flinders Island Route, located about 50 kilometers from Tasmania and roughly 200 kilometers from Victoria, Flinders Island could serve as a stepping stone for the project. The water between the island and the mainland is shallower and more geographically stable. However, this route will require not one but two major structures, one from the mainland to Flinders Island and another from the island to Tasmania. King Island Route. This alternative uses King Island as a midway point, positioned about 100 kilometers from Tasmania and 120 kilometers from Victoria. This path balances challenge and benefits of the other routes. The waters are more moderately deep, and it requires additional logistics and infrastructure like the Flinders route. While each presents different challenges, the direct Bass Strait crossing remains the most discussed. Constructing a bridge across the Bass Strait would be nothing short of an engineering marvel. For context, the world's longest sea bridge, the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, spans 55 kilometers and took nearly a decade. A Tasmania bridge would need to be over 4 times longer, with multiple deep-sea supports and advanced construction techniques. Such a bridge would likely take the form of a suspension bridge or a cable-stayed bridge, both designs well suited for long spans and withstanding heavy winds and wave pressure. However, the Bass Strait is known for its treacherous weather conditions. Wind gusts, rough seas, and frequent storms would test the limits of any engineering system. Additionally, the project would require towers anchored to the seabed, often more than 100 meters deep in some areas, with stable foundations to resist corrosion and shifting tectonic plates. Seismic risk is a real concern in this region and must be factored into the design. If a bridge seems too vulnerable to environmental forces, tunneling under the Bass Strait presents an alternative. At over 240 kilometers long, such a tunnel would be the longest undersea tunnel ever created. For comparison, Japan's Saikan Tunnel is 53.8 kilometers long. Given the variation in seabed geology, a mix of construction methods would be needed. Shallower areas could be tackled using immersed tube tunnels where fabricated sections are sunk and connected. Though technologically plausible, such a project could push current engineering practices to their limits and take many years, if not decades, to complete. Perhaps the biggest roadblock to building a fixed link to Tasmania is the cost. The Saikan Tunnel in Japan costs around $7 billion, and it's only a quarter of the distance a Bass Strait tunnel would require. Conservative estimates for a tunnel across the strait run upwards of $40 billion, and a bridge would cost more than $80 billion. Long-term maintenance also presents significant challenges. Storm damage, erosion, corrosion, and general wear would demand ongoing repairs. Building a massive bridge or tunnel would dramatically affect the surrounding marine and terrestrial ecosystems. Tasmania boasts world-renowned protected areas, including the Tasmanian Wilderness World Heritage Area, which is home to unique species such as the Tasmanian devil, wedge-tailed eagle, and orange-bellied parrot. Construction could disrupt their habitat permanently. In the waters of the Bass Strait, marine species like southern right whales, dolphins, and important fish stocks could be affected by noise pollution, seabed disturbance, and habitat changes. Tunnel or bridge construction would necessitate major seabed excavations and piling operations. Strict environmental assessments would be needed before any project could begin. Even with mitigation strategies in place, the damage could be difficult to fully avoid. Despite the challenges, the benefits of such connection could be game-changing. Tasmania has long faced higher costs and logistical challenges due to its reliance on ferries and air transport. A bridge or tunnel would dramatically reduce freight and passenger costs, offering more predictable and reliable travel for goods and people alike. Tourism could also experience a major boom. Easier access would encourage more mainland Australians to visit Tasmania by car, spending in regional towns, hotels, restaurants, and attractions. Agriculture and fishing, cornerstones of Tasmania's export economy, would gain more efficient routes to market. Moreover, the connection could foster deeper national integration, reduce economic disparity, and potentially encourage population growth, job creation, and outside investment. While the idea of driving to Tasmania remains a distant dream, it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility. Advancements in engineering, growing public interest, and future economic pressure could make the project more viable. Regional infrastructure developments like the Marinus Link and electricity interconnector between Tasmania and Victoria are laying the groundwork for larger, more ambitious undertakings. Still, barring a dramatic shift in political will and economic circumstance, it's unlikely that construction will begin anytime soon. The obstacles, especially financial and environmental, are simply too great at present. A bridge or tunnel connecting Tasmania to mainland Australia stands as one of the most ambitious infrastructure dreams in the country's history. While fraught with difficulty, it offers a tantalizing vision of national unity, economic growth, and engineering marvel. Whether it ever gets built remains uncertain, but as technology advances and Australia rethinks its long-term infrastructure priorities, the impossible may one day be possible. What do you think? Will we ever drive across the Bass Strait? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.